don't think you have to be familiar with Tolkien to enjoy the film. Like, that's the remarkable thing about his story is, you know, when I learned it, I sat there and I was like, wow, this stands alone, regardless of whether you're a fan of his anyway. He lived an incredible life, so I think it's something that people can watch and be inspired by and relate to the relationships and emotions and things that he experienced.
I think it would actually be interesting if people don't know much about him and don't know Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit to see this, and then it would be hard not to get inspired to want to see the worlds he created. So it almost would be a lovely segue into then seeing the films that have been created and going and reading the books, because you get to know the genesis of it.
What did you respond to most in their love story? I think the fact that they were both orphans early and kind of found each other at a young age and had to grow up very quickly, that was something that I instantly latched onto.
They found commonalities between the two of them, and I think for Edith being at this house, living with her benefactor, and being an orphan and kind of forced into this line of work of being a pianist, and she didn't have many other prospects, and to have this person come into her life and be a form of escapism, and then she, for him, was a beautiful part of their relationship, and they had right away this like soulmate quality that I think withstood the test of time, and obviously any situation that they were thrown into, they just ended up right back together. So it was the ultimate kind of relationship, you know, that lasts a lifetime. Yeah, Edith has been called Tolkien's muse because she influenced the character of Luthien in the Beren and Luthien tale, and very much those elvish qualities that we see in the characters in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And so she inspired him by really being herself, by being who she was, and she was this passionate person who was very dedicated to encouraging Tolkien to be the best that he could be and to tell his stories and to encourage him to continue his love of language. But she also wasn't afraid to call him out on things and be that feisty, cheeky woman that she was. And she didn't have to be one or the other, she could be both. And I think that was inspiring to Tolkien, ultimately in the stories he created. Tolkien during World War I fought through the Battle of the Somme, and so that's something we show in this movie in kind of a fantastical way, with fantastical elements anyway, because he suffered from trench fever. So he's kind of hallucinating and seeing dark images from his imagination, which are kind of also Easter eggs for people who are fans of his work, and they can kind of see where these ideas maybe stemmed from. But it was also something beautiful that Domé developed, this World War I, that I think is quite different from what we've seen on film. You're kind of used to seeing propaganda, black and white images of soldiers together on the battlefield, but then you kind of, this is a very different, the colour palette that he was using and the inspiration was horrific and also something that, incredible that Tolkien experienced that, and you can kind of see where some of the worlds he created would have been potentially inspired by that. I wasn't around for all of the shooting of it because I left after a month and I hadn't seen the war sequences. But I remember Domé pitching them to us and explaining his use of color and fantasy and CGI and just all the explosions. He explained it so beautifully, and I was so curious as to how he was going to deliver that. And so to see the film with all the bits I hadn't been privy to before, plus the incredible score, it was really overwhelming because a score can add so much, and this score in particular, it mixes so much of that fantasy, but also that period that they were in, and it really felt very magical. And when I was watching it, I thought, oh my God, in the most basic sense, Domé did it. You know, he really was able to blend everything together in a totally fantastical way, but very based in reality.
I'd like people to take away this idea of love and friendship and the inspirations and characters and people that can do that for themselves and for you that you're surrounded by, but also this idea of art changing the world and how that can be healing at times of need.